Ladies and gentlemen, live on air, we have the enigma, the legend, the secret one, the creators of soil, the father, the family man, the permaculturalist, and the author of dozens of books, including The Permaculture Student Online, which is a international hit if you're into permaculture. And not only that, it's translated into like Swahili and especially Spanish and other languages where you don't have to speak English to understand how to build soils. And tonight, Matt and I are going to talk to you as the layman what EM1 is, which is advanced, but more importantly, how to just throw some seeds down, use no-till techniques, just to go out in your front yard and learn what chop and drop is, because the importance of rotting organic matter, mycorrhiza, and that whole fungal input is what's going on. And that's what we're trying to impart on you. It is the fungal response to the rotting that happens in the bottom of that forest that Matt and I learned about in our permaculture studies. We are trying to mimic these forest systems in your front yard or your backyard. Matt Powers is one of the champions of the new permaculture movement, and we love you, Matt. And welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me back. It is so wonderful to be here. I mean, that intro, wow, that's just absolutely incredible. But this is really what it's about. It's about building these soils. Our bodies are built with soils. The food that we eat is built with soils. The animals that are eating the plants are all built with soil and sun as well. And so it's really simple. We can build soil with plants. We don't need to be going out there and hoeing up, rototilling everything. We can build from the ground up, and then we can chop things down and leave things in place. We can allow things to molder, to over the winter break down. And what that does is actually creates a clean slate. You're not tilling it up and allowing the ancient weed seeds from so many generations and time places to come to the top and then, make your life miserable. When we don't till, we allow for that mycorrhizal fungi to extend all those white hairs we see in the soil. Those are actually the wiring for the soil communication network. And when we break that up, they can't actually run their economy. And so that's like the fiber optic cable of the soil. And that's the only way that they're running their internet. So if we want to build really healthy food, if we want to build really healthy soil, it's really about partnering with plants and life, micro to macro, and feeding that life, all that organic matter. You chopping and dropping it at the end of the season. It's really simple stuff. I mean, you might even go there and just push things over. It is so easy. You're throwing the seeds at the beginning of the season. You're saving seeds at the end of the season. It is just that simple. And then with EM, I mean, you take it to a whole nother level. But it's really, again, just as simple, right? It's like we pre-digest foods with fermentation, with, we're making our sauerkraut, we're making our pickles, because we want to pre-digest that, make that more bioavailable. And that's exactly what EM does with the foods that are in the soil, that are in your compost. They pre-digest it.
Matt,
and there's some science behind it, no doubt.
Before we get to
it doesn't really matter.
Before we get to EM, let's start at the beginning. For the people listening, okay? They're beginners.
Okay.
They're beginners. All right? And this is the perfect time because your diatribe here in the beginning has inspired me to go here. It's fall. We're approaching fall. It's the end of the summer. If you're just starting, this is the time, because you said the word moldering. I love that word. This is the time where even if you have a lawn, what you want to do, and you're like, I want a garden, just start piling shit up. Hello, pile it up. It's called sheet mulch. Pile the cardboard, pile the newspapers, pile your pine chips, your leaves, all the shit that none of your cat shit. Stay away from the cat shit. Cat shit is bad for what we're talking about.
Dangerous stuff.
Yeah, big no-no. So let's get that right out here. A lot of people make that boo-boo. I hate that boo-boo. All right, so let's just get that out here. So I want you to scrape up all your leaves, all your twigs, all that shit that you bag up, and then you put in a $1 plastic bag that you then pay $60 a month for them to pick up at the side of the road or whatever. Don't do that. Break it up. Smoke a fatty, go outside, crack up your sticks and stems, rake up your leaves, have a fall party, an end of summer party. You take all your organic matter, your cardboard, you start sheet mulching it. And what that means is you make a layer cake. A layer cake of grass clippings, twigs, cardboard, organic matter, and then you repeat it. In fact, make it fancy. The more fancy this layer cake of organic debris, the better the results. And then you let it sit there. I don't care if you're in Florida or you're in Michigan. In Michigan, the snow's going to cover it, and it's going to create the moldering in itself all winter. If you're in Florida, it's going to be the rains, and it's going to be the humidity, and that's going to rot. And then your mycorrhiza begins. And then we get to the EM mat. Then they have to inoculate it because we're going to then kick it up a notch. We're talking 10 billion times. We're going to get all of the essential micronutrients in that soil, connecting with the mycorrhiza, communicating with the soil, and breaking it down into what is actually Eden. It is the place where if you simply throw seeds on the ground, cover it with straw, and keep it moist, that heaven will grow. Please dispute me on this if you can.
I'm right there with you. It's absolutely true. When you are partnering with such simple things, I mean, we've got these mixes that we have that we grow in place, and then we chop them down. And usually we call them green manure or cover crops or companion crops or legumes. But there's something I've developed that's really simple, really easy to remember, the 5 cousins, and they're really incredible. So amaranth, we've talked about amaranth before. This is an incredible seed. It brings in the birds. It's a C3, C4 grass. So in other words, it's going to bring in tons and tons of carbon out of the air and make sugars, sweet sugars to trade in the soil life and pump that up and get things like just going wild in the soil. And then you've got sorghum, which has got 5 heads on it. The seeds are all over the place. The size of the sorghum, there's so much sugar coming in, it's dripping with sap. The bees don't even go to the flowers. They go to the side of the plant, and there's this licking up the sweet syrup. And then you have, and all this is just going to feed right into the reaction, because when you have high nitrogen, when you have high sugars and high carbon, you're going to have this big engine, this big fire, essentially. It's a chemical fire. And then you're going to have buckwheat, which is a fascinating plant because buckwheat will steal nitrogen. And that's why they're cousins, right? They're helping each other out. They're stealing from each other. The buckwheat will steal the nitrogen from the cowpeas, and the cowpea will double down and increase its nitrogen fixation. And so you've got cowpeas, of course. And then you've got daikon radish, which is a phosphorus pump, as people have called it. Actually, the phosphorus pump is buckwheat. It's the phosphorus biological tillage action of daikon radish is such that you don't need to be out there with a hoe. You don't need to be out there with a broad fork. It's going to go 3 feet deep. It's going to go 3 inches wide. And it's going to have tons of nitrogen. It's going to grab any free nitrogen so that cowpea has to work harder. And then it's going to have all that phosphorus on it. And that's the NP. And then if you've got all that breakdown, all the worms are going to just show up. And then there's all that potash from the worms. So you got your NPK already locked and loaded in place. And what did you do? You didn't buy anything but a couple seed packs, or maybe you just got some from Diamond when you hung out with them. And you just threw those on that spot one day and walked away. And that's all you did and you just showed up one day and chopped it down. And the next year, it's a clean slate. It's ready for you to inoculate with life. The mycorrhiza is ready there. It's developed. And it just was, just plants that we can eat, plants that we can easily save seed from, and plants that are absolutely gorgeous and beautiful.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
love
I'm right
this
there with you.
idea. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it because it's similar to my other hero's plan, which is Stefan Koyak up at Miracle Farms. Now, he talked and he got me really into the nitrogen apple pear, the NAP program up in the surface of the permaculture orchard with the multi-layers below. And he's learning as we go. I still watch his multiple videos coming out in the last few days about how to plant apples from seed. Now, I already knew this because for the last 5 years, I've been buying organic apples that are old from New Zealand that come here because I know I can crack them open. They've already been cold stratified, and the seeds inside some of them are actually growing. I could just throw them outside. And these are producing tap roots down into the ground here like never before. None of the plants in my region tap root down into the groundwater, and my groundwater is 12 foot down. So these seedling apples or whatever they are bringing up those nutrients, and I can cut these trees down as part of my protocol. But I love the daikon radish, which is also a taproot. That baby can go deep. And not only that, if you're starving, let's say something happens, no one has food, and you got this growing out there, 10 daikons can be like 25 pounds of radish. Do you know how much vitamin A, E, and C is in that? And if you roast it, it goes from this like tart, horrible thing to this delicious, sweet, aromatic. I can't even explain what happens when you roast a radish. It was one of the most groundbreaking times of my life, Matt, when people that hate radishes, I started roasting all different types of radishes for them. We're talking small, like cherry radishes and button radishes, and even the most bitter, like French breakfast radishes. I would coat them in olive oil with a little garlic fresh from the orchard here, and I'd roast it for 47 minutes at 400 degrees in a Pyrex. And when that radish comes out, it tastes like a meat substitute with more complex. It's like wine. It's amazing. And people who hate radishes will eat this dish and they will forever be changed. They'll be like, I love radishes. And I went on a tangent, but it's your turn. Do it.
My son, you know, it's so funny because my son calls them squishy radishes, and it's the ones that he loves, and it's the thing that got him to trust the radish enough to like eat it raw in the garden. You know what I mean? But it's like we have it in all of our soups. We have it. What's so cool is it gives things an Asian flair because it's like so many of the dishes that you're eating at these Asian restaurants and these Asian dishes are daikon radish cooked, but people don't recognize it because it's just in the mix. So I mean, for me, it brings in a totally new flavor palette and makes food exciting. And then it's also the cheapest like food you can grow. It's your cover crop that is this amazing edible. Buckwheat, no doubt, is a really, really great grain. It doesn't have, gluten. It doesn't have any of all those issues that people have usually with it. Amaranth is another similar grain where it's just a beautiful, beautiful, easy grain. You can pop it. I mean, it's just ridiculous. But daikon radish, as is just pound for pound nutrition, it's really hard to beat that. I mean, it's like like a potato, to be honest.
Only better than a potato.
Like
Let's
go
to the buckwheat. Out here where I am at, my bees.
Ooh.
And it makes our honey taste like the desert if we harvest it in September and October, which I'm waiting for this year. We're going to harvest pure comb honey, and it has the propolis in it and all the pollen and from the buckwheat, the native buckwheat. And people have taken 1 teaspoon of this that are completely clogged up from their allergies, and within 1 hour, it's gone. I mean, we're talking like 1,000 times better than Claritin. So you have to know that what you're eating can impact your health here. But I want to bring it back to the basics here, and let's go back to your quintuple seed package for fall planting, which is amaranth, buckwheat, right? Daikon radish, cowpea, and what was the fifth one?
The fifth one was sorghum.
Yes, 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 sorghum. Now we don't have success with
And
it
so this
here.
is for fall chop and drop.
Yeah, because sorghum is like corn.
So this is for fall chop and drops.
Yeah, for fall chop and drop. It's like corn. It has huge
Yeah,
husks.
you're growing
You have this
this stuff.
huge seed capacity. And I want to say one thing about sorghum. We used it last year. We grew it the first time ever. I didn't grow it this year, but it was like amazing for the chickens because we produce like 100 pounds of free food, which you can let dry and you can then sprout and make 500 pounds of free food. But not only that, you got the stalks and you can cut them down in the fall and it's like fun to chew on them. And you can even boil it down and make your own syrup, like maple syrup. Maybe maple trees don't grow in your region. You can make sorghum syrup and it's just like maple syrup. There are so many uses for this plant, but the biomass for building soils is badass. So that's the one thing. You get biomass from the
Yeah.
sorghum.
It-
Now
it
let's talk
can't
about the
be.
nitrogen fixing from the cowpea. And let's also talk about the biomass from the amaranth, because amaranth, guys, if you don't know, this is an ancient grain that does not deplete the soil. You can literally blow amaranth on clay shite. I'm talking depleted hell, non-organic hell, and it loves it. It loves desert, difficult conditions. It just needs to get established. And once it's established, some of the most I got an 8 foot amaranth in an area I didn't even water in one of the driest years in recorded history. So that's a lot to say about amaranth. It has the ability to take moisture out of the air. It takes nitrogen directly from the atmosphere. It doesn't require depletion of the soil. So it's another amazing addition to your quintuplet or your whatever you call it. What do you call it?
I call it the five cousins, like the three sisters, but these are like the five cousins. And you totally, hit upon, like a fundamental of everything I do is that if everything, hits the fan, I got to be able to eat it. Like, I mean, I lived in an area where a windstorm came in that was too much, or a rainstorm came in that was too much. And it's like consistently we are out of food, where people are out of water, and the roads are impassable, and we're in the mountains of California. And the basic safety issues, the basic fragility of our current system. It's like embarrassing on one level, right? But on the other, it's like, well, I can't worry about that. I just got to take care of my own. And so this kind of planting is like an insurance policy for your family, for your future gardens too, because it just builds soil and then produces more seeds to build even more soil, and it just expands and expands and expands.
I don't understand why someone like you and I hasn't developed a permaculture fall seed starter package, because in my studies now here and what I'm saving here, I could quickly pack up something that would be very affordable, that would have I grew yellow peas out here, which is a type of cowpea. It's called a field pea. My local amaranth, the golden amaranth you sent me. I can buy sorghum here, local sorghum, for about $13 for a 50-pound bag. It's called Milo. And
Yeah, it's cheap.
yeah, it's cheap. And but also include like some of the seed save varieties. But more importantly, what we're talking about here is not only are we teaching you how to build a soil, like starting from scratch. You take a bunch of crap, you put it in a pile, all your organic material, you sheet layer it with some paper and some straw and all of your twigs and all of that. And then you throw this seed package down, you water it and you remulch it. And in the spring, what you're going to be getting is the most amazing substrate to begin failing. And the reason I present it this way is because
Yeah.
to be a successful farmer, you have to start failing. Because what happens while you fail is that 20% of your failures are successes. So you have 80% failure, 20% success, and that success is amazing. That's your first interface to what you did, which is create soil and grow food. And what you're going to learn is that the more you build that soil, the easier it is to create food. The more biodiverse the area you're growing in, meaning don't just plant the same thing, plant 100 things and see what happens. You and I know that's the best result. You and I know that is the only way to do it. And I will continue to do it that way. Simply because that even as you're experimenting, you have a success there. It's not what you wanted, but you could probably eat it. So you're golden there. And then let's get to the EM1. You just put out a video here. We're about to get up to the Indiegogo, guys. If you're listening now, we're 20 minutes in. We're about to reveal there's this killer. We're going to do this killer fundraising thing because Matt needs some money. He needs some money to get out here to the Oppenheimer Ranch Project so we can do a video series. But more importantly, he was very successful with the permaculture student online. And this is more of an interface to the general public. This is like how to do it, how to really do it. If you want to go all in, you got to start building soils. You farm soils, you don't farm crops. Any farmer will tell you that. If they tell you any different, they're lying. What say you, Matt Powers?
Well, the Kickstarter starts Monday, and it's Permaculture, Soil Science, and Solutions. And we'll take you through everything. We'll take you through summer and spring mulches, mulch crops that you're going to chop and drop. And there's even winter ones too all these things that we're talking about, primarily I'm saying annuals, things that you can save seed for, things that aren't perennials that'll just kind of take over your garden if you don't quickly get to them. These are things that are manageable. These are things that are going to build the soil naturally because they're going to die down and break down every single winter. And so these are the kind of techniques, these are the kind of how-tos, the kind of partnerships like EM, things that you can brew at home, things that you can do to make yourself more resilient, make yourself safer, make your food more nutrient dense, sweeter, richer, and also so that garden literally can grow itself. So you throw those seeds, and then every year the plants transform. I mean, Diamond and I were talking about before we started about the amaranth transformation year to year, and it has to do with the adaptation, no doubt, but it's also the development of soil every single year at the Oppenheimer Ranch. Following his soil practices, the soil gets better and better and better. And so the plants can learn to it's like they get a new mountain bike every year, and so they can go a little bit faster, a little bit better. And at the same time, they're growing too and adapting too. So it's this exponential growth, it's this synergistic growth. And it really, the thing that is the catalyst in all this is the simple soil growth. So your neighbors are putting out their leaves, like maybe right now in some of the areas of America, North America. Well, have them dump it on your front lawn, dump it in your back lawn. Gather all of that in, and in a couple of years, they won't let you do it anymore because they'll know, they'll see it. They'll be like, holy cow, what am I doing? I'm giving you money in the form of this mulch and this simple organic matter, this leaves. And by the way, my favorite thing about leaves is the name itself, tells you its function. You leave it there. It's there for a purpose. It fell on the ground because the tree knows what it's doing. So we just got to get out of the way. We got to leave those leaves where they're at and have all the crazy neighbors who don't know what they're doing dump all their leaves on your property. And you don't have to make giant compost heaps. You don't have to be turning things constantly and hurting your back. You can be doing this simple sheet mulching. You don't need to get animal manures. You don't need to have, any of this stuff. But the power of that next level of the EM is you're not breaking your back to get to that next level, first of all.
Hey, Matt.
But you're also doing something that you can just continue. Yeah?
Yeah. Before we get to EM and advanced permaculture, which we're going to do because let's try to finish this up in like eight or 10 minutes. All right. let's talk, because these people are wondering,
Okay.
like, how. Okay, so I do all this sheet mulching, right? And then the snow comes, or I'm in Florida, and the moisture is rotting this shit. Now it's spring. It's spring. I don't know how to plant anything, and I've heard about this method called Ruth Stout. Is that even viable? Does that even work? And here is my experience, because I've used it. I'm using it right now in sections of my permaculture orchard. And this is what I have found out about Ruth Stout and the methodology and why it works. It's called no-till, no seed. I'm an old lady and I can't even bend over, and I only want to spend 20 seconds, and I want tons of food. That's Ruth Stout in a nutshell. And she's
Yeah.
awesome because she
Yeah.
learned from experience how to do less and less and get more and more. And it's simple. Once you build the soils, and the mycorrhiza are there, and the micronutrients that are needed are present. Guys, if you haven't started gardening, many seeds barely need to be buried. You just throw them on the ground, and once it rains, the dirt touches them, and they connect with the soil. And then the moisture barrier is broken, and then they start to swell. And the way you aid that now is with the Ruth Stout method is to mulch it. So you put a thick layer, and you want to keep it nice and airy, but blocking the sun. So you want to fluff straw over top of an area. The area that you've built soil on, you simply fluff a deep layer of straw, let's say 4 to 10 inches. Doesn't matter how thick. Don't go over 10. I like 4 inches, and that leaves just enough light in to make it all happen. And then you just throw seeds. You throw them wherever you want them. It's called overseeding. And if you're a seed saver, it doesn't matter. I could throw 80,000 kale over there, and it doesn't matter because I could chuck 80,000 over here. Yeah. And you throw all these seeds, and you could do it before the mulching. I like it prior to mulch, and then mulch after, and you stomp on it. And actually walking on your Ruth Stout area may cause more seed areas where your footprints hit because certain seeds get pushed in. It's potluck. It's like the lottery. It's awesome. So definitely walk for your Ruth Stout area. Throw some seeds down, mulch it down, and then you just water and wait. And guess what happens? It's the same way winter wheat works. You throw some seeds down, and in the spring they grow, because that's what nature intended. The plants push their seeds out in the fall, and then the winds in the fall and winter blow them to the ground, and the snows cover them. And then they stick to the dirt, and in the spring warmth and the spring melt-off sprouts the seeds. It's called nature. Permaculture is nature. Ruth Stout method is nature.
That it is.
Do it, Matt.
Yeah, and that's what we're talking about here. That's what this Kickstarter is about. Monday, it's about us being ourselves, us being humans, because we are humble, humus-making humans. I mean, that's the root of the word. We're soil beings, and everything really is. We're all part of this family that generates. We're all making human manure. We're all making manure that feeds right back into the soil food web. We are all just soil making machines. That's the reality. And once we step into that with knowledge and understanding and a few simple, tricks up your sleeve, a few simple, actions that you take, you're going to be happier than you've ever been with your soil. You're going to be happier than you've ever been with your garden. And at the end of the day, that's going to make you feel incredible. It's going to be like forest bathing in your garden. You may not have a forest anywhere near you. You may be in the middle of a city. You may be in Philadelphia, and you may be surrounded by your fruit trees and this living, rich, mycelial soil. Oh, that smell, that is healing. That is connecting you to who you are, to what you are, and meaning and purpose. And so that's what it really is all about. It's trying to take all this soil science, all this contradiction, all these caveats and everything, and bring them down into real, proven actions that we all can take, that we can take as families, that we can take as individuals. So that's Monday on Kickstarter. I'm going to be starting early in the morning, So even our friends over on the East Coast, if they're waking up early, they'll be able to see it. I'm going to be doing a ton of podcasts and videos around it. So it'll be Kickstarter on Monday, Permaculture, Soil, Science, and Solutions. And it's a book, and it's an intro course for people who are like, what are you saying? We're going to have an intro course that's going to cover all the basics, going to bring you up to date so that you can dive into the deeper stuff with us. All right?
Matt, we love you. Can you see what I'm showing you right now? Can you see what I'm showing you?
It's green.
Yeah. This is like
Is it amaranth?
20, 30 pounds of custard squash.
I can't see it.
And other heirloom squashes. Now, I went out into the orchard today, and I started to notice that some of the squash were getting ripe. And I was like, oh, I'm sure there's a couple. And I ended up like picking like 40 different varieties of squash that I had no idea that I had planted. That's how insane it is. That's where we're going to get here. Now, as far as your Kickstarter, what are the levels that we buy in on? Because I'm buying in. What are the levels?
Well, we've got the ebook. We've got the full book with the ebook for $45. We've got the introductory course with the book. I think that's like around $75. These are full courses. These are detailed books that have pictures, full color. This is everything you need to do everything that you're looking to do. The full in-depth course, that's I believe a 12-week course. Actually, no, I think it's a 14-week course. Added 2 bonus weeks to it. And that's $500. So there's all these different levels that everyone can jump in at. And day one, there's an incredible bonus contest. There's incredible bonuses that everyone gets that signs up. All the books are signed. And there's over $2,000 worth of value that is going to happen for someone who signs up on day one. So there's fun contests. And not only that, we've got incredible stretch goals. As Diamond talked about, we've got some goals for me to get out to Oppenheimer Ranch, for me to do some filming, for us to create some videos together.
Well, more importantly, I'm all about giving back to the community. So what we'll do, like if let's say we reach 50 grand on your launch here, what's the date? What is the launch date? Let's get that out there. Let's keep repeating that.
So this Monday, September 9th, I will be launching it early in the morning, hopefully before anyone gets up, before the sun comes up, so that everyone's waking up, they're seeing it Monday morning, and I'm going to have some launch videos out. I'm going to be talking about this on my podcast. So that is September 9th, and that is in just 72 hours, I think. Yeah, we're talking about like in less than 72 hours.
So if you're listening, this is what's
important.
So
it's coming right now.
This is important. In order to make this go viral and to make Matt a success on this promotion here, we got to all go there in 3 days. And if you want to support him, let's do it. I'm going to do it. I'll do a podcast in 3 days, and we'll go out there and we'll support it. It's on Kickstarter. So what we need is just, if we can get like a big push where we get like 10 grand in there, it'll explode on the internet, and people who don't even know us will buy into it. And what will happen then is that Matt will come out here to the ranch, and that we'll go to one of the subscribers' areas nearby, and we'll make them a dream garden. We'll do it. We'll do it live on air. We'll show them how to make a hugelkultur. We'll show them how to collect leaves from the neighbors. We'll just do regular stuff. It will be the best damn podcast you've ever seen about permaculture, because we're just going to do it like with real people on real time. It'll be like jackass permaculture, only it'll be for the benefit of you, the subscriber, and you, the listener. And look, you have nothing to lose by buying any of these courses except abundance.
Well, you would lose. Yeah, if you didn't join the course, you'd lose, and you'd lose abundance.
No losers.
That's the advantage of this course. Yeah, and so soil is the key to abundance, absolutely, in our garden, in our lives. I mean, if we just think about just the basics of what we're doing, we're taking the waste, the food waste in our kitchens, and the plant waste on our yards, all the yard clippings, all the lawn mowing, and we are taking that potential food, that potential soil, that potential that health that is literally your body, right? Because food becomes our bodies, right? And you're throwing it away when it could be the best possible thing in your life. And it won't be a lot of work. We're talking about just throwing seeds down. We're talking about layering things down. We're talking about stomping things down. We're talking about making soil in a way that makes life beautiful, that makes life easier, that improves things in a real, tangible way. And that's what it's all about. It's not about going over the top with soil science, going over the top with vocabulary. It's about making a difference in people's lives. With this is a human right to know how to work with soil. So that's what it's all about. It's about paying it back. You got it.
All right, let's do this. Matt, let's commit to me that Monday, let's do it Monday afternoon after we launch. Do it in the morning. Monday afternoon,
okay.
You meet me like 11 a.m. here, our time, and we'll do a quick podcast and get everyone involved so that I can get up on my channel. At least like 10,000 people will see it then. And let's get that first surge, because guys, it's important on a Kickstarter in the first 24, 36 hours to get like 100, 200 people supporting this at any level. If you can just give like $5, do it and say, boom, you're awesome. I guarantee I'll let you come out to the ranch and we're going to do some other things. But we want to get it to the stretch goal so that we have a couple dollars to bring Matt out to the ranch and we could do some podcasts for at least like 3 or 4 days where we can transform someone's life. You know, there's a lot of people out here that watch the channel, Matt, and I go to their house and we trade stories and I've been helping them plant and we switch seeds and all that. But I have someone in mind that we could go out to her house and we would, and it would literally, I mean, it would be like the best thing ever. And I know who it is, and it would make the best podcast. So guys, on Monday, we're going to be doing a podcast. Go be a part of this right now. And what's the title of the book? And what's the smallest level they can get in? Because guys, you're going to learn how to make your own soils. This is like a dummies course for the most intensive biodynamic type of farming, which is easy. It's like back to nature. It's forest gardening, for Christ's sake. We love it. It's permaculture. It's not only a principle of growing, it's a principle of life. And it makes you abundant and vibrant, and it makes you want to breathe and share and enjoy. Matt, tell us more about it. We're about to rock it and rock and roll and cut it out.
Yeah. Well, there absolutely is lower levels. There's the mini ebook. There is for the $5 subscription, you can get Simple Soil Solutions, which is excerpts from the larger book so that you can get those how-tos to start, like the stuff we talked about tonight. That is exactly what you'd be getting, but with visuals, with how-to, with all the timing, so that you can refer to it and rock it without a hitch. Because that's what it's really about. It's about getting you started, making all this simple, clear, and easy so that you can get started on your garden, and it's no headache. It's easy.
Yeah, people. I mean, that's like my number one most email. It's like people are like, I tried. It's terrible.
Monday,
it looks like
Kickstarter,
crap.
Permaculture, Soil Science, and Solutions. I'm Matt Powers. Thank you so much. This was awesome.
Dude, I can't wait until Monday. Let's just follow this up with a real quick blast out, because it's going to be up, right? The Kickstarter will be up and running. We'll be able to show it live. It'll be like Jerry Lewis telethon for soil. It'll be awesome. We could have pictures of mycorrhiza and have all these special guests on.
Yeah, let's do it. Yeah, what's wild is it's like, oh man, it's so crazy. so much of our history is tied up into soil, and then we don't even have any idea that Washington thought America was going to fall because of the way we were tilling in our fields was driving the soil off the sides of mountains. And so he was the one who proposed contour plowing, which is literally what swales are. It's like, you know what I mean? And then like, but you go back and it's like Aristotle, Plato, all of them were lamenting the cutting down of the trees and the loss of the forest soil fertility. And it's literally stuff that we can reverse in our backyards. It's literally stuff that we can turn the clock back on and make the fertility in the food jump back in our lifetime in just a few years. But we got to start, and it's just that easy to start, but it starts with the soil.
Been a pleasure, Matt. Monday, join us for an impromptu, awesome podcast where we kick off the Kickstarter for Matt's new book on building soils. You can get it at any level, and you can learn to be abundant and to grow your best garden because times are changing. We need to provide for ourselves because the food, even the organic food in the supermarket, is deficient in micronutrients. If you want to be your own doctor,
It is.
Grow your own food.
Oh, yeah. Thank you so much. This was awesome.
We love you, Matt. We'll see you Monday.
All right. Thank you.